Was Nier worthy to be L's successor? We all know that Nier was ultimately the one who defeated Kira and became L's successor. However, many people have criticized him for being only a pale copy of L and merely a shadow of his greatness. Today, I want to find out the truth by comparing the three best candidates for the position in a 1 versus 1 versus 1 battle, and seeing whether any of them truly had what it took to assume the role. The names are Mello Beyond Birthday and Nier himself. If you don't know who Beyond Birthday is, I suggest you read the masterpiece Another Note, The Los Angeles BB Murder Cases. However, just to briefly introduce him, he was a boy born with the Shinigami eyes and raised in Wami's house. He later became a serial killer with the intent of creating a case that L would be unable to solve in order to prove his superiority. Unfortunately for him, he was ultimately defeated and arrested by Naomi Masora during her time as an FBI agent. Now, let the battle begin. We'll start with Mello. Besides looking really cool, Mello embodies the dynamic and creative side of L. He actually takes it to the next level, resulting in an aggressive and tough young man. He's very smart, though probably not as good as Nier at solving puzzles, whether in real-life situations or as theoretical exercises. He has a strong inferiority complex toward Nier, due to being the second-best student at Wami's house. This deeply affects his personality and actions and likely prevents him from reaching his full potential. His moves lead to great results, but the risks he takes eventually force him to accept his fate. Because of his aggressive nature, he is ultimately overpowered by Kira, whose personality is essentially a stronger version of his. He holds LB and Masora in high esteem, while he despises Kira and Nier. This proves that he has a strong personality, which I believe makes it difficult for him to accept when people he considers not worthy end up winning. Now, Beyond Birthday. B resembles L in a more complete way, although the personality he displays feels more like that of someone created to mock L. Despite this, he demonstrates a powerful combination of analytical and dynamic skills, shown by the precision of his murders, the manipulations he carries out on Masora, and his overall deceitful methods. He is probably the third smartest character in the Death Note universe, after L and Kira. However, he shares the same flaw as Mello: envy. The environment of Wami's house clearly lacked emotional education. This trait leads him to underestimate those around him, including Masora. A person like him is more suited to being Kira than to being L, and would not be able to handle the responsibilities of being a detective, or confront others with the necessary emotional detachment. Finally, Nier. N represents the analytical side of L, and the coldness required to face both the harshness of life and the role of L's successor. His antithetical nature to Kira is precisely what brings him to the top. He doesn't openly challenge Kira, instead he focuses on solving the puzzle by using others and eventually completing it himself. Kira was successful in eliminating everyone who directly confronted him, as one would expect from a brilliant criminal. But he couldn't defeat someone who seemed more inclined to observe rather than attack. Nier's confidence prevents him from taking unnecessary risks or making bold moves, because he simply doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. L died because he had no choice but to risk his life, while Nier had no hesitation in sacrificing his pawns. After all, he was raised to be a detective, and that is exactly what he became. His cold personality and lack of initiative were essentially what Wami's house had prepared him for. He may not have had B's raw brilliance or Mello's fiery personality, but he understood what was required to be L. Perhaps L's slight preference for Mello's personality is the reason he didn't immediately nominate Nier as his successor. So, despite him being my least favorite, the answer is yes. Nier was worthy of being L's successor.